Churches are special places. They are an architectural expression of individual and communal spirituality and provide space for reflection and inner dialogue. At the same time, churches are also places where change and transformation can be recognized. In this video, we present a selection of places of worship that could not be more different. Enjoy the 10 most amazing churches in Europe. If you like this video, please support the Travel Owl channel with a like, comment or subscription. Thank you. Notre-Dame is one of the oldest Gothic churches in France. Construction work began in 1163 and continued until 1345. During the almost 200-year construction phase, the Romantic style changed to Gothic, meaning that Notre-Dame was also redesigned after the first 80 years of its construction. When the magnificent building was finally completed, the nave measured a full 128 meters long, 40 meters wide and around 33 meters high. The two characteristic towers of the cathedral, also known as the West Towers, even reach almost 70 meters into the Parisian sky. During the Enlightenment, the church was remodeled and finally looted and partially damaged during the French Revolution. Under Napoleon, there was actually talk of demolishing the cathedral, which was quite run down at the time. Hard to believe today, isn't it? It was not until the success of Victor Hugo's novel The Hunchback of Notre Dame, literally translated as Notre-Dame of Paris, that the church regained its prestige and was restored over the following decades. The almost 93-meter-high crossing tower was also built as part of this restoration work. The Gothic church is located in Sedlec, a district of the idyllic Czech town of Kutná Hora. It looks quite ordinary from the outside, but inside there is something extraordinary to discover. The bones of thousands of people have been bleached, carved and artfully arranged. According to the story, an abbot from the area traveled to Jerusalem in the 13th century and brought some holy earth back to Sedlec to spread in the church cemetery. Word spread and the Sedlec cemetery became one of the most popular places in Central Europe to be buried. When the plague ravaged Europe in the 14th century, around 30,000 victims were buried there. The Crusades added another 10,000 people, not to mention the other burials that followed over the course of time. When the parish began building the Gothic church in the 15th century, many bones were exhumed and arranged in pyramid-shaped piles in the ossuary under the new building. They remained like this until 1870, when the owner family hired František Rent in 1870 to create something beautiful from the huge piles of bones. Stave churches are impressive relics from the Middle Ages. The imposing architecture is reminiscent of the richly decorated dragon ships from the Viking Age. The wooden churches built on vertical masts, staves, mark the transition period from pagan to Christian Scandinavia. In the remote areas in particular, a special relationship developed with the new faith. This led to the elaborate construction of the church buildings in the tradition of carving from the Viking Age. Of the once more than 750 stave churches, 30 still exist today, 28 of them in Norway. The Stave Church in Borgund, Lærdal municipality, is one of the most visited stave churches in Norway, mainly because it is particularly representative of Norwegian stave architecture with its dragon heads, runic inscriptions and portal carvings. The church was built in 1180 and dedicated to St. Andrew the Apostle. It has long been a tourist attraction. A travel guide in Norwegian and English was published as early as 1898. Today, hundreds of tourists arrive in coaches during the season. Unlike many other stave churches, Borgund Stave Church has never been extended or altered. The Świdnica Peace Church, which was built in the 17th century within 9 months without the use of nails, is one of only 2 peace churches in the world. It is considered the most valuable monument of Protestant sacred art in Silesia and is also the largest wooden church in Europe, which can accommodate a total of 7,500 worshippers at one time, 3,000 seats and 4,500 standing room. The Church of Peace has been preserved in its original form for over 350 years, although it was built from unstable materials, wood, clay and straw. The Habsburg Emperor Ferdinand III introduced such restrictions on the building materials to be used for Protestant places of worship when, after the conclusion of the Peace of Westphalia in 1648, he gave his consent to the construction of 3 churches in Lower Silesia. In Świdnica, Jała and Glogau, the latter has not survived. They were called peace churches, thanks to the dedication of the citizens of Świdnica, who, among other things, kept watch over the church roof with wet cloths during the Napoleonic siege of 1807 and immediately extinguished the fire. The building can be seen today in its original form. Otto Wagner's Church of St. Leopold at Steinhof is one of the most important buildings in Vienna. The first modern church in Europe stands on the highest point of the extensive grounds of a psychiatric hospital from the beginning of the 20th century. Wagner borrowed from European architectural history for the church building, from Byzantium to Viennese Baroque and Classicism. However, the formal language itself is completely free of historical models and the ornamentation is consistently modern. The marble cladding stands for economical yet hygienic architecture, a claim that is also continued in the interior, where the design was tailored to the needs of patients in a medical institution. For example, there was an emergency room that was always staffed by a doctor when the church was open. Otto Wagner even managed to have a toilet installed in the church. A revolution for the time. The holy water container, designed by Otto Wagner, had the idea of filling the holy water into a hanging container, which then dripped into the bowl below. Worshippers caught the drops with their fingers to prevent infection. The artistic highlights of the spacious and bright church interior include the glass mosaic windows by Coleman Moser. In 1520, the Brotherhood of Mercy in Viana do Castelo developed to such an extent that in the second quarter of the 16th century they decided to build the so-called House of Balconies Casa das Verandas. The building, dating from 1589 and designed by João Lopes, known as the Boy o Moço, is a unique piece of civil architecture, inspired by Renaissance and Mannerist architecture, with Italian and Flemish influences. In 1716, the restoration work of the church began and was entrusted to the military engineer from Viana, Manuel Pinto de Villalobos. Inside, the church has a great decorative richness, in keeping with the trend of the time, both in the altarpieces in gold carving in the national style, the work of Ambrosio Coelho, and in the tiling by Policarpo de Oliveira Bernardes or the frescoes by Manuel Gomes on the ceiling. It is undoubtedly one of the best examples of Baroque in the country of Portugal. La Sagrada Família is one of Barcelona's most famous landmarks. The Basilica, which is still under construction, is considered Antoni Gaudi's magnum opus. With its different styles of neo-Gothic and Catalan modernism, this impressive building is a must-see for every visitor to Barcelona. Construction of the church began in 1882 under Del Villa. Gaudi took over the management of the project in 1883 and worked on the building for more than 40 years until his death. He was responsible for the monument's Art Nouveau style and developed the decorative elements as the project progressed. When he died in 1926, the construction was entrusted to his assistant Domènec Subrains, and work continued intermittently over the following years. Today, the income from ticket sales is reinvested in the completion of the project. Gaudi remained connected to his ambitious masterpiece even after his death. The architect is actually buried in the crypt of the Basilica. Mass is held here every Sunday morning, and the crypt has been declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site due to its unique beauty. Nestled between the houses on Sendlinger Street in Munich, the Asam church stands in a very small space. It is only 8 meters wide and 22 meters long, which also makes the construction work in art. To build a church in such a confined space, even with a 2-story interior, and then to design it harmoniously with painting, sculpture and stucco work. The interior is divided vertically into 3 sections, which increase in brightness from bottom to top. The lowest section with pews is for the church visitors. Comparatively little light comes through here. This section is also intended to symbolize the suffering of the world. The middle section, with its white-bluish color scheme, was reserved for the emperor. The uppermost section, with indirect light directed onto the ceiling painting, stands for God and was dedicated to his eternity. The life of Saint Nepomuk is depicted on the ceiling with elaborately designed paintings. At the same time, it is intended to represent an opening to God and heaven. As you enter the church, you are surrounded by a variety of stucco work and ornamentation. The brothers lavishly decorated the interior of their church, as they were not restricted by any specifications. The exterior facade is designed in the Baroque style. A statue of Saint Nepomuk watches over the gates of the church. The divine virtues are depicted in the gable above. Faith, love and hope are immortalized. The northern part of Romania, the south of the Bukovina region, is a historically significant area. It is home to the so-called Moldavian Monasteries, a series of beautiful Romanian Orthodox monasteries, some of which have been part of the UNESCO World Heritage Site since 1993. The extraordinary frescoes, which often cover the entire wall surface of the monastery churches, are particularly impressive. The depictions of all Moldavian monasteries show stories from the Bible in a colorful and comprehensible way. Many of the monastery churches have been restored so that the impressive depictions can still be admired in many places today. In addition to their beauty, the Moldavian monasteries are also important for national identity, especially for Orthodox Romanians. St. Peter's Basilica is the spiritual heart of the Vatican and the entire Roman Catholic Church. It is the second largest Christian building in the world and one of the most famous and most visited shrines of Christianity. The history of St. Peter's Basilica dates back to the 4th century, when the original basilica was built on this site. It was built on the presumed grave of the Apostle Peter, one of the 12 apostles of Jesus and the first bishop of Rome, better known as the first pope. However, the basilica we know today was built in the 16th century and consecrated in 1626. It is the result of the work of some of the most famous architects and artists of the Renaissance and Baroque periods, including Bramante, Michelangelo, and Bernini. St. Peter's Basilica is renowned for its breathtaking beauty and artistic richness. Upon entering, the huge bronze canopy by Bernini, which stands above the main altar and the tomb of St. Peter, immediately catches the eye. The basilica is also home to Michelangelo's Peter, one of the artist's most famous sculptures. Another highlight of St. Peter's Basilica is its dome. It was designed by Michelangelo and is the highest dome in the world. If you climb the more than 500 steps, you will be rewarded with a breathtaking view of Rome. St. Peter's Basilica is not only a place of worship, but also an important center of the Catholic Church, where many important events such as the election and enthronement of new popes take place. It is a place rich in history, art and spirituality and a must-see for any visitor to the Vatican.